Hi, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Soul Prince podcast. I'm your host, Akashic Beck, and joining me today is a fellow practitioner of mine. He is a Reiki practitioner as well, and he's come here today to share a little bit about Reiki and what that looks like, and how he is helping people heal all over the world. He hails from the UK, is that correct?
I do indeed, yes.
And please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Ian Robinson. Thank you for being here, Ian.
Yay!
Yay, we finally did it.
Well, we can go now. That's it, done.
Yeah, okay, bye. That's so funny. So tell me, Ian, how are you doing today? Because today is such a powerful, energetic day. It is the partial solar eclipse and the new moon in Scorpio. So there's like all this like very like deep, like sponge-like energy going on. How are you handling these energies?
To be honest with you, I'm handling them better than I have done probably for this week. I've been actually a lot better than what I have been for about 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. I've since when Mercury retrograde finished, I was just like, boom, everything just went so flat for me. And I just felt really heavy. I felt really fed up. My vibe was really low. I was thinking, what is going on here? What is this? It just felt absolutely crazy. And other people that I spoke to, they were feeling like the same. And also, there seemed to be a lot of people during this sort of time where they were either poorly, or they were just felt out of sorts, or there was just things that were going wrong. People just didn't have any flow. There just seemed to be lots of crashes within people's lives, and it just seemed to be like this big sort of like boomph of just like energy and what have you. But I must admit, this week I am feeling better. I am feeling a lot better, and I think that's because this last sort of, because I was feeling so low before, and I really could not be bothered. It took me all my time to just do any sort of meditation or any sort of work on myself, really. And then it got to a point where I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to have to just get on with it, clear this, work on this, and just like try and shift it to pull myself back out of this funk. So, I did lots of saging, lots of salt baths, lots of energy work, did lots of Reiki on myself, and then started to actually feel a lot lighter, a lot better. I thought, right, okay, it's starting to shift, it's starting to work. So I did that for a few consecutive days and starting to get myself back onto an even keel, back onto a track. So at the minute, fingers crossed, I'm okay.
Okay, good. Yes, it's like you had to do all this prep work so that when this day finally got here, you were like, I'm anchored in, I'm good, I'm grounded.
Yeah, give me all you
Yes.
got.
Yeah, really. It's like, don't say that too loud, like
No.
you don't know what the universe is gonna drop at our doorstep, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Ian, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us like where you're from. Tell us what it is that you do exactly.
So obviously I'm based in the UK, and for many years I did struggle with mental health and things like that, and then discovered meditation, coincidentally, and then discovered Reiki, and decided that when I'd started my Reiki journey, I did my level one, and as soon as I did my level one, I thought, that's it. I need to like learn this and get this out there and make people more aware of what this amazing energy is that can benefit people's lives in so many wonderful ways. And along the journey, I've come to meet people obviously like yourself and other healers and energy healers, and this union and this just, I don't know, it's just like there's just something that people like that, that call themselves healers or whatever, or work on some sort of that level. There's just some magical connection between everybody, and the more you sort of become enveloped by it all, the more you want to learn, the more you want to know, that the more magical it becomes, and the more magical people become that you become connected to. Because I just find that as soon as I started doing like meditation, it gave me such clarity of mind, such focus to be able to see kind of a way out of the situation I was in. But then when I found Reiki, and I had a few sessions with my Reiki master, and then something changed. I don't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on what it was, but something changed and something happened. But I knew it was for the better. And then I had some more sessions. Then I knew I had to know more about it and learn it. And that's just been like kind of a journey going from level 1 right through to the master teacher level, which is where I'm at now. And it's just been beautiful. It's really such a wonderful journey, and the people that you meet along the way, and the various tools as well that you intuitively pick up on that you need to use within your practice. Crystals and cards and sage and Palo Santo and incense and singing bowls and all this amazing stuff that all has an energy about it.
Very cool. So do you incorporate any of those things in with your practice?
Oh yeah. I mean, I only work distantly. I did do a little bit of contact work, but it seemed to be the distance work is where it was at for me. So I've kind of focused on that mainly, and it's been really beneficial, and so many people have found the benefit from it. And even them, like myself, when I discovered Reiki, they don't really know what it is that's changing. They just know that something is happening and something is changing for the better. And then they kind of like, after maybe so many sessions, I don't know, 4, 8, however many it might be, it kind of like whatever issue they came to me with has been resolved. But then they're also finding that there's other issues. These layers are starting to like lift, and it's starting to lift all these layers from within that also need healing. So they're starting to discover other parts about themselves that exposes themselves to be healed. And that's very much like what a healing journey is. It's about all these different layers of discovery. But getting back to your initial question, so I mean, I love using crystals with distance work as well, and using. I mean, I have like a selenite dish here with all my crystals in that I use for client work. I've got loads of crystals over there that I have for my own personal collection. I use like Palo Santo for cleansing, smudging, like around this area where I do the healing work. I use sage for the room. I've got things like room sprays and what have you, and singing bowls here, there, and then oracle cards and tarot cards, because I like to, at the end, during or after a session, I like to give an oracle card for the client, and it just helps to give them some sort of like guidance or clarification as to what they're going through, maybe, or maybe what's about to happen, and it just gives them a little bit of an idea of direction within the life, really.
That's excellent. So for those who maybe have never heard of Reiki or don't know what exactly Reiki entails, could you kind of give us a definition of what Reiki is, at least to you?
So Reiki, to me, I mean, the word Reiki is split up into two names. So it's Re and then Ki. So the word Ki means basically like universal energy or energy. And it's Ki and Chi or Prana are like a lot of the Eastern philosophies of energy. And this energy is something that flows around and through everybody. The word Re means kind of universal source, God energy. So it's like, it's this, I don't know, you might want to call it spiritual energy, you might want to call it source energy, you might want to just call it universal energy, but it's this universal energy that we all have around us that flows through us. And if you think of something like Star Wars, where they talk about the Force, it's pretty much like that. It's that sort of same kind of philosophy around it. And so when you go to see a Reiki practitioner, what they will do is they will place their hands, if it's on a contact session, on the various points on the body,
Mm-hmm.
where they'll be intuitively drawn to go to, or they might just want to use the chakra system and run down the 7 chakras,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will channel this energy through them, in through their palms of the hands and into the client. And it's exactly the same as what I do with distance work, but I
Mm-hmm.
use a diagram of a person, and so it has the full body, and I will just work down the body, and I will place the crystals on the various chakras of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And even distantly, I feel heat, I feel cool spots, I feel something that might be going on with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I will relay the information back to them, they actually say, oh well, yeah, actually I have been feeling this in this area, and that's been going on. So it does kind of like tally up, and it's I can't really the best way I can kind of understand it and explain it is when we talk like in the realms of quantum healing or the quantum field. If you want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about physics, it's
Mm-hmm.
that connection. So it's your intention, is the key. So if your
Mm-hmm.
intention is to help someone, where your intention goes, the energy
Mm-hmm.
will flow to that person, and they will receive that healing energy, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll help them feel relaxed. It will speed up their natural body's healing process, and it removes blocks and anything like that that might be stopping them in life, creating pain or discomfort.
Very cool. Yes, and you're so right about, intention. Intention is
Mm,
everything. It's so important in this kind of healing work that we all do in the spiritual community. Having that intention will, like you said, direct that energy to where it needs to go.
yeah.
And that's why it's so important. And tell me if you agree, why we tell people, like it's good to focus on having the intention of healing for yourself,
Mm,
or having, redirecting your thoughts to, a higher vibrational type of energy. I am healed, I am this, I am that, the things that you want to call in, and because that's intention too, right?
oh, absolutely, yeah.
And our words are so powerful. So it's all kind of in the same wheelhouse. Like it's almost like help me help you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
calling in these intentions for ourselves is something that our clients can do, and it doesn't cost a thing to say a word, right? So.
No, absolutely, yeah. And words are powerful, and words are
Mm-hmm.
healing. And even sometimes if you've got something you can feel within yourself going on and you're not sure what it is, if you actually
Mm-hmm.
just speak to yourself and speak to your body and just say, why am I feeling this? Why is this firing up now? Why am I experiencing this pain or this discomfort?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes if you can really connect to yourself, there
Mm-hmm.
will be an inner voice and an inner calling that will say, you're experiencing this because of this, or you're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing this because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes as well, what I've done is if I've experienced anything out of the blue or some random pain or any sort of discomfort, I will actually just say, can you take this away, please? And I will ask, just for that pain or whatever it is, just to go. And then
Mm-hmm.
within minutes, it's gone. So it's just like that intention and that focus of thought and mind upon your body or anybody else's body,
Mm-hmm.
has the ability to heal.
Exactly. And our body is always listening.
Mm,
It's listening to our thoughts, it's listening to our words, it's listening to our emotions.
yeah.
It's very important, what you input, into the body, to create that kind of healing. And you're so right too about the layers. It's like,
Mm,
and people think, oh, well, it's a streamlined process, point A to point B of healing. And it's like, no, it's
yeah,
all
yeah.
over the place.
How wrong they are. Yeah.
It's very messy.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's what's so beautiful about the work that you do is you're like, I'm literally like, I'm taking away the layers and I'm
Mm,
seeing, and it can be very vulnerable for people. That's why,
mm,
I mean, I personally think it's such a beautiful display of trust that people
mm.
have, in coming to, spiritual healers like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, just honoring that bond. Because do you get kind of bonded with your clients?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to watch the journey, to see how they kind of start out, and 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 the journey that they take. And
Hmm.
the journeys are often like, they can be up and down. They can be like waves, and
Hmm.
and then people will say, well, why am I feeling like this? Surely I should be feeling better. Well, not always. Sometimes things need to be released or let go. And
Right.
and the reason why you're experiencing this is for you to understand and see that there's an aspect of your life that's making you react in this way or feel a certain way. and,
Hmm.
and what has happened on your healing journey is actually exposing that for
Hmm.
you to be aware of it. And once you're aware of it, your light of consciousness can go to that area, and it can release it and let it
Hmm.
go.
Right.
Mm,
Exactly. So powerful.
mm.
So Ian, if you don't mind, can you share a little bit of, we'll kind of backtrack. Can you share about your spiritual journey and your path to awakening with us?
Oh, crikey. Uh, where do we start? Where do we go? So
Maybe the
yeah, I
condensed
mean,
version, right?
condensed version. I'll condense it down. So probably early to mid 20s, I was going through a lot of alcohol stuff, and
Mm,
lots of sort of addiction things. And then sort of mid 20s, I started going this sort of mental health roller coaster and a bit of a crash. Got to my late 20s, was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and started having panic attacks as well. And then so I was given like this kind of cocktail of medication to try and deal with it,
right.
which I suppose, like, on a level it did, but on the other side of the coin, I was kind of like more of a zombie, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one day, really. Well, there was a few days where where the events were quite profound. There was one day I went out, I took the dog to the park, and I just felt something was happening to my body. I didn't really know what it was, and my heart started going like really, really fast. And I felt all this tingling in my hands and in my feet. And this is where I discovered that I just thought I need to go home. So I
Mm-hmm.
went back home, and then found out later that it was a panic attack that I'd suffered from.
Mm.
And then probably about a week later, it was a similar set of circumstances. And I went back out, took the dog out, and I was in the park. And normally parks are like kind of like really green, and you got the grass, you got the blue skies, you got the birds singing, and it was just like everything just seemed like black and white. It just seemed like
Mm.
so, and I just thought, I just don't want to do this anymore. I just felt so heavy. It felt so dark. But then the next day, I did the same thing again, went out, and it was like this veil had been lifted off, and the sky was so blue, and the leaves are so green. And I was just like, and it was like the light was so bright in my eyes. I was just like, what is this? This is like crazy. And it's a totally different feeling to the day previous. Um, Little did know that I was starting to kind of like go on this sort of spiritual journey, and already by then I'd started meditating,
Mm-hmm.
and became quite kind of proficient at it. So I'm guessing I'd kind of connected to my energy a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and after that it was just like there was like weird chains of events and weird circumstances that happened around the home or around me, just like spooky things that were happening around the house, and then like
Wow.
hearing voices and things turning themselves off and on, and like one of my dogs that had passed away like years previous, and I felt her kind of jump on the bed because she was quite a heavy dog, but I didn't
Wow.
have I didn't have a dog at that time. And so I felt all these sort of like weird, and I could feel presences around me, and I didn't really know. It was kind of like scared the crap out of us, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I bet.
Initially, yeah. But then years later, it just kind of like became, I need to know more. I need to know more about what's going on. I need to understand why I'm feeling this, why I'm connecting to that. And it just became like kind of like this roller coaster journey. And then because the meditation gave me this clarity of mind, I knew I had to leave the job I was at because it was such a negative place to be.
Mm.
And I went to a different job, which is where I found out on a fireplace in the coffee shop where I worked, these leaflets about Reiki. And something just went ping, ding in the back of my mind, and I was just like, oh, there was something in that I need to know about. I need to discover more. And then the guy that was on the leaflets on the picture, he came pretty much every day to the coffee shop. So we kind of like built a bit of a rapport and a bit of a data. I got to find out about Reiki and went for some sessions with him. And then it's just kind of like, it's just gone on and on and on. And then after being attuned to Reiki was when I came into contact with my spirit guides and a couple of my animal guides, and then a Native American guide, and all this stuff was going on. And again, but I was more kind of like aware of it, so it wasn't scaring me. It was actually like a really loving, powerful force that became aware of, and still now I'm just becoming more aware of more and more and more, and things are just becoming clearer. My clairaudience is slowly becoming clearer, and clairvoyance and all this sort of stuff that kind of it comes part and parcel with the whole package, really.
Absolutely. So you signed up for the Reiki information on the pamphlet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got in touch, and then because his first session was free anyway.
Right.
So I went along. He said, well, you said you got nothing to lose. First session's free. Come along, give it a go, see what you think. Went along, did it. Sort of kind of like when it finished, I floated out off on a cloud, and I was like, I don't really know what just happened, but I feel really, really good. And then it just kind of continued and went on. And then even I think maybe that's the second session I had with him. I was seeing his spirit guide, and then I was seeing other things, and I was seeing relatives of his, like in my mind's eye, and I explained like what I was seeing. He was just like, oh, he said, yeah, that's my one of my spirit guides, and that's such and such, and that's another person. And I was just like, okay, so
yeah, so you just like unlocked everything.
yeah, it was
Yes.
crazy, absolutely crazy, but
That
fun.
is yeah, totally. It's so fascinating because you're just like, we've been told, conditioned our whole life to say, oh, that stuff's not real, or that's just your imagination, or you're crazy, or blah, 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 all those things that we hear, and
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so powerfully validating whenever
Mm,
you finally realize, like, okay, this is what's happening, putting the dots together,
yeah,
and being able to use that, like you said, in your practice.
yeah, and I mean, it's even better when you get validation from the information that you do get, and you do realize actually you're not making this stuff up. It's information that you can forward onto people, and they're like, how did you know that? I was like, it's just a feeling. Just a feeling that I got. I mean, I'm not always right, and but a lot of the time that there is something there that will, and I will give them. I mean, for instance, there was a friend, a daughter of a friend wanted some Reiki to help, and I was picking up all this information, and I'd seen like cocktail glasses with like the umbrellas in, like the type you get on holiday. But then I was seeing like a cabin in the woods, and I'd said to her, I said, for some reason you're having a dispute at the minute between where you want to go on holiday. I said, you either want to go for a beach holiday or you want to go for a forest cabin holiday. She was like, well, actually, we've done both. We're booking both. I was like, all right, okay. So, well, that's fine. I know that's the reason why I'm seeing that. But then I was kind of showing a monkey, and I said, you're going to stay somewhere and there's going to be a monkey there. And I said, I don't know why I'm seeing a monkey. And it kind of like freaked her out a little bit, which understandably. And then like kind of, I think it was about 2 weeks later, she took a photo of where she was staying in a friend's house, and in the bedroom, hanging from the wardrobe, was this big cuddly monkey. And she was like, can you believe that? I'm just like,
I would have thought, yeah.
who would have thought it? Like,
Yes. Oh, and so much validation. I love it. That is such a
yeah.
cool story. So my next question for you is, now you're an SCHH practitioner as well, correct?
No.
No,
I've had sessions, but I'm not a practitioner
you've had
yet. But
sessions. Okay.
yeah,
Could you tell me a little bit about, your experiences with that, if you don't mind sharing?
no. Oh, they've been absolutely like profound, really, really, really good. I felt very comfortable through the whole process of being guided into it, being guided into the theta state and what have you. But yeah, I mean, there's been loads of stuff that's come up through the sessions, and it's gone. They've all gone onto like my YouTube channel, and at the end of them, I never really remember much of what I've seen or experienced. So when I watch the videos back, I'm just like, well, where's all this stuff coming from? You know, it's just like kind of like weird information.
Right.
But I mean, my experience of it, of that side of things, has been absolutely like amazing. And I felt like at the very end of the sessions, when things have been released, or something from a past life may have been exposed and let go of, I've actually felt that shift when I've come to the end of the session, and I've kind of like come out and I'm just like, wow. And like whatever I was experiencing, that maybe there's, I think what one of the sessions I had something on my neck, or it was like, I think I was actually tortured. I was crucified on a cross for using white magic rather than they wanted me to use black magic. So I was like kind of like a light worker. So they kind of stuck me to a
Wow.
cross and burned me. But this curse was on my shoulders, and we lifted that off. I think this was in a session with Tony Mowry from Ropes and Wings. We
Okay.
lifted we lifted that off, and at the very end when we finished, I was just like, wow, my shoulders feel absolutely amazing. They didn't feel heavy, they didn't feel tight, they just felt so loose. And I felt like my whole vibration had lifted a little bit more. I just felt amazing. But it did take me probably a day to reground, to really get back. I was a little bit clumsy, I must admit, afterwards.
Yes, it affects everybody very differently, but yes, I
Mm,
can totally
yeah.
see how it would be. You'd be like, okay, hang on, I have to orient myself again.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I went downstairs to make just like a cup of tea, and I couldn't even get that right.
Oh my gosh,
I was that sort of floaty, and I
you're
was just like,
British, you know tea.
exactly.
If that tells you anything, yes. Oh my gosh, wow, that is so powerful. And speaking of past lives, like, how far have you delved into your past lives?
Well, I've had three SCHH sessions so far. My first one was with Karen Stamper.
Mm-hmm.
Second one was with Tony Mowry, and the third one was with Shannon Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
And each one, I've gone into past lives. And the last one with Shannon, I actually went into three different past lives. I think the one with Tony, I think I went into two,
Mm-hmm.
and the one with Kaz, I think I went into two as well.
Okay.
And they were all like, no, actually, the one with Kaz, I think I went into three, because it kind of like transitioned, because Kaz didn't know who she was talking to at the time, because my personality kind of changed. So I went from being this Greek god, who was like sort of overseeing people, but he didn't like the position he was in, and
Mm-hmm.
he had like a bit of a disdain for authority. And then it kind of like went to somebody else who was more of kind of a Buddha type figure, I suppose. And he was talking about kind of like New Earth and the different vibrations of Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and the various shifts that the Earth's got to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but they were absolutely fascinating. But the visuals were so, like, for me, I mean, I know everybody's different, but the visuals for me were just so clear, and it was like, you know, when you like read a book, like a really good fiction book with like great imagination and great sort of descriptions of things. It was like that, and your imagination's kind of like really taking over because you're seeing everything. It was just like that, but obviously without the words. And as you were seeing it, it was playing out scene by scene, and as you were going through it, through the motions, you were like actually there with your energy. But really amazing, profound.
It is. It's so
Yeah,
it gives you chills. You're just like, wow, you know, that this was
yeah,
really me. Like, and it still is you. It's just you in a different
yeah.
form, in a different body. Yeah, I was just curious, like, any of your, because I work in the realm of past lives a lot of times. So I was just curious, like, how those past lives like resonated with you in this current incarnation. Like, do you see aspects of yourself from those past lives in your current life?
Yeah, because well, it's funny because the Greek god guy had this kind of like disdain for authority, and that's kind of like me now. I don't I don't really like kind of like higher up figures. I don't know, there's just something about them where they're just kind of, I don't know, maybe they just
Mm-hmm.
think that there's something else. I don't know, but there's just something about them that I'm very mistrustful of. I always feel there's like an agenda behind them. So
Right.
that's kind of like resonates with me on some level. So very much so with that. And then like experiencing the Buddha type figure, for going into, starting my healing journey within meditation and calling my company Reiki Zen. It was very, very closely kind of like situated, and how much I love using meditation alongside Reiki, especially for my own practice, for my own
Mm.
self-healing. It was so powerful, really is. Yeah.
Wow. That is powerful. And I just, as soon as you said that, I saw the correlation. I was like, duh, like
Ding
Reiki
dong.
Zen, hello. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. So in the lifetime where you were like this Buddha type person, I mean, do you like really connect with Buddha? Do you work with Buddha in your practices and
Um,
channelings and
I
such?
I know that I have like a Buddhist, I think Tibetan monk that works with me, and that's
Mm.
something that's come from an Akashic reading that I've had like a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd mentioned that. So then for that to come up in this, and then for me to take the path that I'm taking as well, it kind of like it's all a little like sort of like little blocks that go in like, to make the path that you're actually traveling on, and
Mm-hmm.
little things like start to make sense. You're like, okay, so that's why that's happened, and that's why that's happened, and it's just funny watching the breadcrumb trail that you've created, and you
Right.
wonder like, well, where's it going to go next? Where's it moving to now? Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, and it remains to be seen. That's the frustrating yet beautiful part about all of it, isn't it?
yeah.
So my next question is, how has your spiritual journey and coming into this place where you're healing people and stuff, how has that affected your relationships, like with your friends, your family, your partners, and things like that?
Yeah, I know when I was going through this kind of transition and this awakening process, I used to go out obviously quite a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and that just kind of like stopped altogether. And then all those people that I would go out with just kind of like just vanished. It was like, oh. So I felt very, very lonely, and I felt very
Mm.
much on my own for a long period of time. Um, Looking back now, I know that I needed to be on my own to heal from various things that I need to heal from. Um, and and that's kind of continued in a way, but on the other side of things, the connections that I've made with people like yourself and other people like around the world, it's a totally different form of connection and friendships. It's even though we're so far apart, it's much deeper, and it's much more on a knowing basis rather than just oh, let's go out and get this, or let's go out and do that. It's a much deeper connection that you have with these like-minded souls. And even even like my parents, I was quite I didn't think my parents would quite get it or understand it. But my mum's like, just like, she's like lapping it up. She absolutely loves it. My dad's kind of like on the fence with it. He knows what I do, and he knows about it. I don't talk that much about it to him because he's kind of like just a meat and two veg kind of guy. So he's very much down to earth. He's very,
Yeah.
very grounded, very, typical dad type of dad. And my brother actually, he's very much aware because he's had Reiki before. Because I mean, he's traveled like the Far East and Japan and India and Tibet, and he's met the Dalai Lama and all that sort of stuff. So he's done like the
Wow.
Eastern journey. So this kind of really should be him doing this. But in retrospect to that, when I mentioned that on one of my Akashic readings that I had quite a few years ago, she said, well, so it doesn't really matter whether you're brothers or not. It's the connection, it's that it's the brotherhood line. So that energy flows through both of you at some point. So I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. So now he's very open and accepting to it, and actually has decided that because I've managed to do this with the Reiki business, he thinks, well, why can't I do something like that? So it's kind of like made him
Got
think
some
more.
wheels turning. Yeah.
Exactly. So he's actually, so years ago, I mean, I still do now. I still paint and I still do artwork and whatever, but he never used to, but now he is. So that just shows these correlations that we've got going on between us. And he started to do some really, really good artwork, and he wants to get his own studio and he wants to start selling it. And I'm just like, wow, this is like the journey that he now needs to be on. I mean, I know he works in the corporate world and he works like for a council and things like that, but to have something that's creative and being able to channel something from within is so healing for him.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that for him and for you. That is so wonderful. I first off, I just want to say, when you were talking about the loneliness aspect, I think we all, when we go through our spiritual awakenings and such, experience some level of loneliness. Even if we are surrounded by people, it's like we feel alone. We like, you just yearn for someone who understands you,
Yes.
and you're so right. It's like being in connection with the beautiful spiritual community on Instagram and the SCHH and everything. It's like you have people, even though we have like this disconnect of being far apart and things like that, we have this like innate understanding. It's like we all have this like commonality within, and we're all here to do our healing and our light working journey. But as far as your brother, it's when you were telling me the story, all I could hear was you activated him. Like it's like he probably, had you not gone through your journey like yourself, he may not have done it either, like you said.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that makes, I can see that correlation between the two of you as you were talking.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. So do you feel, on this same kind of note, do you feel like, is it safe for you to be open about everything that you do, like in public? Like if you go somewhere, go to the grocery store or something like that, or whatever the case may be, like you can share about what it is that you do without ridicule?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll talk about it, and it's funny because when you talk to people about certain things, you can actually feel a vibration from them. So you can either feel that connection, they're like, and you've captured the interest, or it'll just like, oh, get away, I don't want to talk about all that kind of stuff. But you can feel that instant sort of like pull that somebody wants to know like a little bit more, because there's something inside them, as we've all experienced, that something inside us is yearning for something more. It's yearning for truth. It's yearning for answers. It's yearning for a new level of understanding of the world that is kind of like awakening and unfolding around us on so many different levels.
So true. So true. And I find that, because like when we had my interview with you, whenever it was, like what is time, it's like everything has been a blur this year. Like this whole entire year has been a blur for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just me. Okay, good.
No,
But
it's just like we're just like almost in November. I'm just like, where's that year gone? And it's just like ever since the start of the pandemic, everything just seems to have gone voomf. Like, I don't, is that something that's meant to happen to speed things up, to make people create this illusion of something else? But I don't know. But I think a lot of people as well, because of especially the situation in the UK, I think a lot of people are just living month by month, so they're living from paycheck to paycheck, and that kind of like speeds up because they're yearning for the next month to bring the next pay in, so then they can pay this and they can do that and do that. But that's not really what life is about, is it? It's not about like sort of, oh no, I'm so, embrace the moment of where you are, embrace the moment of things that you can do. You don't need money for everything in life. And there's so much enjoyment in just going out into nature, go to the beach, go to the coast, go for a walk, and just taking the beauty of everything around you, on so many different levels. And you don't need vast amounts of wealth to enjoy the simplest pleasures in life.
Mm-hmm. So true, so true. And it always breaks my heart when, you know, of course you can't stop progress, right? You know, when they
Yeah.
tear something down so they can build some, you know, a stadium or here in the United States, I don't know how it is there, but it seems like there's a bank every 10 feet. You know, it's like, why do we need so many banks?
Yeah.
Like it's like you said, everybody's living paycheck to paycheck. Why do we need another bank? You know, so
Yeah, absolutely. And like here, I mean, where I live, the town I live, it's more like nail bars and barbers and salons, and like another salon comes up or another nail bar comes up, and there's already like 10 in that street. You're like, we don't really need any more nail
right.
bars. Can we have something a bit more inventive here, please? That
Right. Like
yeah,
everybody's hair and nails be looking fly and you're like, well, I guess I could be a little bit better. I'll go to this next bar, you know. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. It's I guess our banks are your nail bars. I guess you could
yeah.
say. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so I have two more questions. My next question is what so far, what has been the most rewarding experience in your Reiki practice?
Oh, there's been a few, to be fair. There's been a few. Currently, I actually have a client at the minute, who's in the States. Actually, she's in the US, but she's originally from the town where I live, Darlington, in England.
Okay.
But she moved to the US with work, and
Hmm.
I thought, wow, that's strange. That's a really strange connection. But then found out
Yeah.
that she'd actually seen a post from one of my friends on Facebook about Reiki, and they are friends. So she saw her post all the way across in the US, and I was like, so I was having to like try and find out how she found out about it. But watching her journey unfold, from where she started off from being um, very anxious, very anxious because she has to give sort of speeches and seminars and things like that,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
she had real problem with confidence and being able to put the words out and what have you.
Hmm.
Now she gets up there and she just bosses it. She's up there and she has no trembling, she has no fear. She's just so focused. She knows exactly what she wants and what she needs to say, and the words come out, and people just say like to her like, wow, how have you become so like confident in speaking, because you never used to be used, and so even they've seen the difference in it. But now, like I was saying before about these different layers that start to unfold, we were just talking the other day on a Zoom conference, on a Zoom call, and she was saying that she's now aware of other things that are kind of like sort of coming to the surface that she's realizing have been affecting her in some way,
Hmm.
and they're new elements that need to be healed from within, and she's using meditation and Reiki combined, so she's having like a session of Reiki and a session of meditation like separately during the week,
Hmm.
and she's finding like the effects that the two have absolutely like amazing, and after each session she's just like so thankful for it, and um just so pieced out. It's just been a wonderful journey to watch, and like I said before, it is a beautiful journey to watch someone or speak to someone where they start off and you see them go through the various stages, and they get to a certain point where you're at now, and you're like, wow, it's such a different person, such a change, such a beautiful
Mm,
transition from where they've been. They
yes.
found the wings basically.
Yeah, it so is. Oh my gosh. Like when you just see the progress that people are, like it's almost like I akin what we do to like removing roadblocks, because people
Yeah.
people are responsible for their own healing at the end of the
Mm.
day, right? But
Yeah.
but I feel like sometimes it's just a matter of like showing them like, hey, here's the door. Like, look,
Yeah.
walk through the door,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and or here, let me move this roadblock out of your way, so that's so beautiful. I'm so happy for her that she found her confidence in her voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been so amazing. And to think that I'm doing that from sat here, sending my intention and my thoughts out to her, the other side of the world in America,
Mhm,
and she's receiving that healing as I'm sending it from here, and it's
mhm.
having this amazing effect. It's like,
Mm.
oh, it's just like boom, you just like
Right, right. Well, and it speaks to how we're all connected, like how we
yes,
are all one,
yeah,
and the things that it doesn't matter how far apart we are physically, it's like spirit doesn't care, energy doesn't care, they're going to
mhm,
find a way.
yeah, absolutely,
It's
yeah.
such an amazing testimony. I love it. So I'm going to wrap this up for today, but Ian, I would absolutely love to have you back on Soul Prince sometime if you'd be
Oh, I'd love to
willing.
come back. I would love to
Yeah.
come back.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, my very last question for you is how can people find you and get a hold of you?
They can find me on my website, which is reikizen.co.uk. They can find me on Instagram, which is reikizen_Ian. They can find my page on Facebook, which is Reiki Zen Ian, I do believe. Or they can find me on my YouTube channel, which is Ian Robinson Reiki Zen.
Awesome. And I will have all of this information posted in the comments. But Ian, I just want to thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today.
You're welcome.
Everybody, contact Ian and get your heal on. And thank you everyone for listening to Soul Prince today. And we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.